Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my monthly reading stats for June 2019. So overall, it was a good reading month. I met most of my goals. It was a strange reading month in the way that, again, I was still doing a lot of library books, so it throws my numbers off in certain ways. And then, yeah, I had some up and downs this month, and I admit that. So it was it was a weird reading month, I'll say. But I think I needed that kind of break for some reason. I don't know why I had to do all those library books. And I got through a lot of stuff that I was curious about, or at least wanted to try. So I feel like I did accomplish something. My numbers aren't great, but it's interesting. But I did read a lot of things, but maybe not super long. Anyway, so I'm just going to go through my trusty little list here and go down through it and let you know what's going on. So in June, I read 12 things, or 12 stories or novels. Not all of them were full novels. A couple of them were short. Were very short, actually. There was a couple novellas and maybe a short story or two. So not great on my part. I only read 6 physical books. And I read 6 ebooks. So I did start an audiobook, but I did not complete it in the month. So really I read ebooks and well, mostly library books. So it was kind of interesting. That was not normally. I mean, I usually do a lot more physical than anything, so it was kind of weird. I did read 2 graphic novels over the month. So yeah, one of them was really good. One of them was meh. Or, yeah, it was okay. How many rereads did I do? So technically, I did 5 rereads. Of course, one of them was one of the others series, which I loved. And then I did 4 novellas that I'd read. I figured out like 8 years ago. So I counted pages on all 4 of those because I don't remember it at all. I read it when I first got my first Kindle. They were some of my first ebooks that I bought back in 2010, 2011. I think I read them all in 2011 though. Anyway, so how many DNFs did I have? I had 5 DNFs. So all of these were library books. So they were none of my books that I paid for. So there's a good point to that. I've been tracking a lot closer, again, my DNFs and rereads and how many pages on the DNFs I get to and that kind of things for my mid-year and for my yearly goals. I just wanted to write all that stuff down. I just like knowing all the stats for that, so it's incredibly fun to put that together. Anyway, so by doing it, tracking it as I go, it's been pretty good. But I found it really funny that all the 5 that I DNF'd this month were all library books. But I did have a lot of library books out from the library. Again, I had up to 20 at one point. And I tried a lot of books that I didn't want to pay for. And so some of them I liked, are okay, and then some I didn't. And then some I just went, I don't want to read this. So that's why there's so many DNFs this month. How many of the books that I read were on my TBR? So my TBR video for June only had 2 books on it. And they were 2 of my favorite authors. I, at that time, was so far into my library books that I didn't know what I was going to read or what I would like. So I just put down the 2 books that I knew for sure I would read, and I read both of those. The only time I've probably gotten all the... well, maybe not the only time I got all my TBR, but pretty close. Let's see here. Okay. So how many books were off my shelf? None of them physically were off my shelf. All 6 physical books were from the library. But the 6 books, the ebooks that I read were all ones I owned. So that's good. Let's see here. How many were I currently reading when I crossed over into the month? I was actively reading 3 of them. Because I had an audiobook and 2 physical books. Or no, I take it back. I had an audiobook, an ebook, and a physical book. So, so those 3 were my currently reading. I have several other ones that are still open that I've started before that, but that's what I've got so far. I'm I'm not making sense. Sorry about that. Number 10 is how many books did I buy this month? I bought 11 books. Not great. It's still not below the 10. But 11 is a much better number than it has been in the last few months, which I'll show you in a minute. How many of those did I read and how many were added to my TBR? So I didn't read any of those this month, but 2 of them were books that I had previously read. So they don't count, so only 9 books went on my TBR. Still not good, but still it was better than normal. How many pages did I read? I read 3,052 pages, which comes out to an average of 98.5 pages a day, which again, my goal is to be 50 pages on average a day for the month. So I think I did really well. I mean, I almost doubled it. I came really close near the end. My star ratings were kind of funny. So I only had 1 5-star read. And again, this does not count. This counts the rereads that I counted pages for, but the 1 reread, the others doesn't count. So anyway, but I only had 1 5-star read. I had 8 4-star reads. So half of those were the rereads. And then I had 2 3-star reads, but one of them is really a 3.5. It's not quite a 4 yet. Maybe by the end of the year, I'll change it to a 4. Right now, it's still hovering at 3.5. It's a 3, but it classifies as my 3, which just means it was really good, but I probably will never read it again. And then a 4 is when it's really good, and I will probably reread it. And I'm not quite sure yet on this book, so that's why it kind of hovers. But I didn't have any really 2s or 1s because I DNF'd everything I didn't like or didn't want to read. So I'm getting better about doing that, I guess. That's why. Anyway, so I only read 3 genres this month, which is hilarious. I only read paranormal romance. I read 6 of them. I read 5 literary fictions, and I read 1 urban fantasy. That, again, that doesn't count my reread, my 1 reread that didn't count. But still, it was pretty high on the paranormal romance, but I just was in that mood. I think it's from the summer book bingo that Sarah at Steeped in Books is doing, and I'm trying to do some of that. So I'm trying to think about my romance books, and again, I'm much more amped to pick up a paranormal romance than I am to pick up other romances. It's just the way it goes. Okay, so then my favorite book of the month. I don't think anybody is going to be surprised by this one. I mean, really, let's be honest. Let's see, it's not going to pull up right away. Of course not. There it is. Which is Nalini Singh's Wolf Rain. So again, it's book number 18 in this full series, number 3 in the Trinity series. Still, love this series. It's my favorite paranormal romance series. Best world building and characters, and then it has the romance in it too, but I just love this story. Anyway, so that is by far the best thing I read this month. And then, let's see here. And my biggest disappointment is the book I asked the library, oh, of course, it's not going to do what I want it to do, that I asked the library to buy, which is Beautiful Revolutionary. Gosh darn it, I still haven't figured out how to get these things to go down. Anyway, so, which is by Laura Elizabeth Willett, and I know a lot of people have bought this because again I saw it on Natalie's channel on my reading days, and I really wanted to read this because it's about the People's Temple and Jim Jones and stuff, but to me it just did not work out. I read 138 pages. I could not read past that. I was so mad by that point of how it was structured, as in how the characters were being shown to us. So it just was the most disappointing read because I really wanted to buy that book. I almost bought it several times and I got my library to buy it for me. So again, happy for the library to let me try out books that I didn't want to pay for. Anyway, so then real quick, my journal stuff. I just wanted to show my year in pixels. So again, there's a couple of black dots of when I was rereading stuff, but mostly I read quite a bit. The red is where I didn't read anything, or I reread. Yeah, I was rereading at that time, so that's why there's no page counts. And then the lighter ones is low numbers. it's kind of rainbow as in red, you know, in the, so if you see the beginning of the rainbow is where the little pages were, and the darker is when I got big numbers. So it's actually, you know, still did pretty good. I think overall my numbers matched up, so I wasn't too bad. Let's see here. I was going to show, so see how good I am. So for buying books, I've only did 11. So only in January was I at 10. I have not made it to this or below every time. I've been huge, but only 11 this month. We'll see how July goes. I'm hoping I do better. And then here's the same thing as the pixels. This is the actual how many pages I read per day. And again, the blanks are pretty much where I was rereading, or these low numbers were reading. And then these are my really big high days that I had beginning of the month and the end of the month. So it was really nice. So I think that's it on what I want to show. So how was your guys' June? Again, mine was weird because I had a lot of library books, but I think that helped out, and it also made it easy to DNF things. I am going to be posting my mid-year goals check-in and stats, and so we'll see how that kind of plays out and what happened with that. So anyway, if you guys are doing stats, I really can't wait to see them. I love these videos, and if you guys think there's something else you want me to add to a monthly, on my monthly format, let me know, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.